I have finally moved west to Alberta, specifically to Calgary. And you'll excuse my audio, but turns out UPS did not actually raise any alarm when some of my stuff got stolen from them. So excuse the audio recorded on the regular webcam, but I will soon be rebuying all of the stuff that I need. To the subject at hand, I don't trust the conservative parties. Now don't worry, I have not joined the commies, but if you Americans in the audience are concerned about the rhinos in the Republican Party, don't come to Canada, because the conservative parties here are pretty much nothing but that. Or more specifically, every single conservative in a position of power is a liberal with a coat of blue paint. And not two thin coats, just one really patchy, streaky coat. Quite frankly, the firearm issue is the only point of policy that slightly differs from the liberal position, and I'm not even sure they would actually do something about it. The only thing Stephen Harper, the previous Conservative Prime Minister, did for the firearm community in 12 years was essentially getting rid of the long gun registry and making a couple of procedural simplifications, which in my opinion is nothing but throwing a bone to get a handful of votes. And he still lost to the stupidest politician Canada has ever had. So what have the Conservatives done for the past 6 years? Well, during the previous leadership race between Scheer and Bernier, they showed the Dem how surprise votes at the 11th hour can pop up to elect the least charismatic leader possible. A guy who never answered a question to the point and whose sole talking point was Trudeau bad. And yes, when you get a few thousand votes Michigan style and you destroy them before they can be recounted, I maintain the CPC establishment cheated Bernier out of the leadership race and put Trudeau back in his chair. O'Toole, the new leader after Scheer was deposed for the exact lack of charisma and weaseling out of question that led to defeat, something that I had predicted would happen, is actually managing to do worse. Many gun owners in Canada will tell you that we have to vote CPC lest everything is lost, but I think this is short-sighted at the very best. O'Toole has promised to rescind the last gun control measures, including the laws and the OIC, that is true. But the CPC overall is going in the exact same direction with an ever more bloated government, lack of transparency, silencing dissonant voice within the party, and most of all continuing the lockdown nonsense as the Liberal. I think the Conservatives are just in it for the power, just like the left. Just like was shown by O'Toole getting rid of Derek Sloan, an internal political rival, over a racist donation to his campaign. Never mind the fact that he's married to a minority woman. Pierre Poilievre, another potential rival, very popular amongst the conservative base, far more charismatic and frequently giving the Libs business, also got shuffled off into an obscure committee where he wouldn't be under the spotlight so much. He's also in bed with the Chinese Communist Party because he named the former director of Huawei into one of his war rooms. That's going to have a huge impact on his campaign. Cherry on top, when 56% of the members vote to not consider global warming as a priority for the party, he goes immediately against it and demands the members obey him. Let's not forget as well, the party leadership is very happy to cozy up to Ford, the fat tyrant of Ontario who's very happy to keep his lockdown powers, making a fortune selling mandatory stickers while insulting the people who put him in his chair.
To those who are expecting a dramatic moment, I'm afraid you'll be disappointed. But I will say this, from the first days of my campaign to lead our party, I've said two things consistently. One, we all want a green future for our children. We cannot ignore the reality of climate change. The debate is over.
And what happens when somebody breaks rank? Well, in the proud tradition of Twitter, Facebook and all of the other one, instant ban. But that's just the East full of neocons, right? Fucking wrong! Alberta, the most conservative province in all of Canada, has been betrayed multiple times by its PM, Jason Kenney. After promising not to close the province ever again when the first lockdown ended, what did he do when the time came to keep his promise? He decided it was more important to appease the mainstream media, bought and paid for by the Libs, and his CPC buddies who are all in for the eternal lockdowns. And most recently, what did he do? Well, he had put some threshold in order to open back up the province, and he decided, Quebec style, to keep everything closed even after his threshold had been reached. Need more proof? Just in the week before I recorded, his party has introduced a law to allow recall of bad elected officials. Sounds good on paper, doesn't it? After all, if Californians can replace the authoritarians' retards with more authoritarian retards, why couldn't we? Well, we can't, because the conservative politicians, being weasels just like the libs, made sure that you need absolutely ludicrous amounts of votes to get rid of any of them. Example for the PM, who's in hot water right now. You would require 40% of all the voting population to sign your petition, which means you would have 60 days to gather over 1 million signatures. For the record, Alberta has a population of less than 4.4 million total. California has a population of 39.5 million, and all they needed for a recall was about 1.5 million signatures between mid-June 2020 and March 2021. Even worse, if a petition has already been submitted and failed, it is not possible to submit a new one before 5 years has passed, a full year after the term of any politician has ended. So said politician can have anyone create a petition right after he's in place, not talk about it, let it die, and be safe no matter what he does. Trudeau would be extremely proud. It does not matter where you are in Canada. The Conservative parties have no ethics, no principle, and they are up to the exact same antics as the Liberals, and they are just as authoritarians. A lot of gun owners give me shit for splitting the vote, because I prefer the People's Party of Canada, the party of Maxime Bernier, and, in my opinion, the only actual right-wing party in Canada. And just like every election, I'm told it's not the time to vote for your principles. Well, I would ask, when's the time to do so then? Because if the Conservatives are essentially indistinguishable for the Liberal to me, a right-winger, then the undecided voter will most likely go for the devil they know, and Trudeau will get a majority once again, and the Conservatives will still be the passive, spineless doormats they already are. That's why I vote PPC, because if you never vote with your principle, you end up in the situation we are in right now, with a bunch of leftist parties that have absolutely nothing else to do than pander to the big cities, and the Conservative Party that has virtually no chance of being elected because they just want to be the Liberals.